does the individual have the right for sacrificing animals in order to worship? Is it allowed to an individual or to a group of individuals to worship by sacrificing animals? That's a very controversial issue. But in terms of these fundamental rights, like right of privacy, freedom of religion, equal protection, affirmative actions, all these controversial issues, we have to analyze these fundamental rights by analyzing also cultural matters, sociological matters, and not only law matters. As long as freedom of religion represents a matter which is very far from being exclusively related to law, it tends to be analyzed by in a cultural way, sociological way, anthropological way, because that's the way it's got to be. Because religion is a human construction and it's not a law construction. It's not only a law construction. Therefore, if we come to analyze and interpret the case or this issue in terms of Brazilian law, we have a specific provision in our Constitution that is responsible for giving a response for that. It's the Article 5, Item 6. Freedom of conscience and of belief is inviolable. The free exercise of religion cults being ensured and under the terms of the law, that's important, under the terms of the law, the protection of place of worship and their rights or their rights, I guess rights, rights also. There R-I-T-E-S, rights, R-I-T-E-S, okay. And their rights being guaranteed. But in Brazil, we have the contravention law that declares that animals cannot be submitted to cruel treatment. But here again, we get to the point that the law does not give a response for the controversial issue. Because if the law declares that it's forbidden to that animals cannot be submitted to cruel treatment, what is cruel treatment after? What comes to be a cruel treatment? What is that? Can we say that a sacrifice of an animal during one religious ceremony is a cruel treatment of the animal? See, it depends on the values of the judge. Because I would say that if the judge has a very firm conviction in terms of environmental law, he or she will get to the conclusion that this sacrifice is cruel and is forbidden by the conservation law. But if the judge has an anthropological view of the situation, he or she may conclude that it's not forbidden as long as we all do eat animals. So what would be the difference between eating an animal or sacrificing an animal in a religious ceremony? It's just culture. It's a cultural difference, because we might not get used to this kind of religious ceremony, but they happen. Here in the United States, we come to see these kind of ceremonies. And I brought you a case that came to be decided, and it is related to a city of the state of Florida that came to forbid animal sacrifice during religious ceremony. It's a church of, if you can help me, this is a very, here, Church of Lukumi Babalu. I don't know how to pronounce this word here. It's Church of Lukumi Babalu, something here, incorporation versus City of... Okay. And we have to understand the case. And understanding the case, we have that situation, we have this following situation. A law from the city made it illegal to sacrifice animal in the city limits. The law defined sacrifice as the unnecessary killing of an animal in a public or private ritual, not for the primary purpose of food consumption. So how did the U.S. Supreme Court deliver the decision? If you were a Supreme Court justice, how would you decide that? Any volunteer? That's a interesting issue. But how would you decide that? How would you?
I'd say go ahead and kill them. I mean, I think what it is, because that's their religious belief, and the norm is not to kill animals, but that's probably why people would say, no, you shouldn't kill animals unless you're going to eat them. But if that's their religion and it's not really hurting, they might eat it later.
So what kind of provision would you find to protect the believer?
I mean, I guess the same one we were saying earlier, where it has to be like, like conscientious objection. Like it can't be just something they do. If it's an established religion and that's actually, you know what I'm saying, a significant part of it, then maybe that would be a reason.
Yeah. In fact, it has much more to do with freedom of liturgy. And how freedom of liturgy